Welcome to another episode of Euphoric, the podcast. I am sitting across from an incredible guest, Lorraine, who is building a revolution for toppling down centuries of French culture, let's just say, and bringing in the alcohol-free movement. So I cannot wait to have such an incredible conversation with her today about how to really dispel a lot of cultural myths and norms that we've been raised with, and also how to really carve out your own way to be able to do what you really want to do on this planet. So, how are you doing today, Lorraine? So good to see you.
Hi, Carolina. I'm super happy to be invited into your podcast. That's really an honor for me today.
Amazing. Well, if you can't hear already, Lorraine has a beautiful French accent. So, what's so interesting is that the alcohol-free movement has been around for maybe around like 10 to 7 years or so, depending on how you count it. And that the new alcohol-free movement has been really, trying to reach people with this message that anyone can reevaluate alcohol and just recognize that this toxic substance isn't necessarily serving us. But coming from France, like that is a very hard message to swallow. And there's just so much years and years of tradition and culture around alcohol. So before we kind of unpack that together, I'd love to just know your story. Like, how did you come to reevaluate alcohol in your life?
So it's been like 4 years ago. So I decided to start like a dry January. But this time it was different because it was the first time in my life that I really questioning my relationship with alcohol. Because I was living in Paris, so I'm French, I live in Paris. And like wine, champagne, it's really part of our heritage and our identity. So everyone is drinking, and alcohol is what can I say? It's present everywhere, all the time, socially accepted and accepted. So it's all the time. So I never questioning my relationship with alcohol. Like, I was like a kind of a social drinker because all my friends were doing that. But after like a huge hangover for the New Year's Eve, I was like, okay, I need a detox. And it wasn't the first time that I decided to do like a kind of detox or dry January. But this time I was like, okay, I think I need to change my relationship with alcohol. And I started to ask me a question like, why I am drinking alcohol. It's not about how many glass of wine I have on a party or whatever. It's like why I'm drinking. And I identify that I'm super stressed and anxious. And so when I have, like a glass of wine, it helps me to relax and things like this. And as well, when I'm going to party and I could have some like social anxiety, so it helped me to be more confident and things like this. And so the thing is like when I'm going to party, I'm having a drink and having fun. And I just realized, okay, finally, since I'm 18 years old, I always learn to go to party or to have fun or to go on a date with alcohol. So I think that it's kind of an identity you build through alcohol. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I decided to make some research about, the effect of alcohol and things like this. And so in France, the subject is super binary. So either you like an alcoholic person, so you have like a really huge problem with alcohol, or you have no problem at all. But the thing is like in the between, you have the gray zone, meaning the people who are social drinker or they drink like each weekend since 20 years. So this kind of thing. And literally, I didn't relate it to the testimony that I've seen in France. So I'm like, and at the first place, I was like, oh, I have no problem at all with alcohol, I'm not drinking one bottle of vodka on a daily basis. So, okay, I'm putting so much pressure on myself. But then finally, so I made some research on the UK, in the US, and you were talking about that, meaning about the alcohol-free movement. And 2 or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, in France, you do not have this kind of movement thing. Meaning, if someone is saying, "Oh no, I'm not drinking alcohol," people are like, "Okay, you're sick, you're pregnant, so what happened?" Or you are an alcoholic person. So when I see all the thing in the US and UK content, I was like, okay, they're talking about the benefits, they're talking about the mental health, they're talking about stop the procrastination, building new things like new identity. So it really helps me. to really understand why I was drinking alcohol. And then after that, you have a new energy. So what do you want to build in your life? Who do you want to be? Like building a new identity, all this kind of thing. So I started my dry January with that. And this time it was really different because sometimes when you do the dry January, you're like, okay, it's 1 month. I'm going to be at my home and I'm not going to go to party because I'm going to be tempted by alcohol or whatever. And me, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to see people. I'm going to go on dates. I'm going to go there to see, like, to observe myself and who I'm truly are without alcohol, how I react, to the situation and things like this. Okay, I'm shy. Oh no, finally I'm confident. And, because you have limited thoughts, and you always think that, no, I can't do that. So I need to have a glass of wine to go to this party. So you discover who you really are. And yes, sometimes I was going to party, and I'm getting bored. But why? Because the vibe wasn't there, the energy wasn't there, the people, you know what I mean? So this time it was all about an experimentation. And this is super important because finally, I'll always say to people that I never stop my dry January, but I never say to myself, okay, I'm going to stop drinking alcohol. And for me, it's really important in which mindset you're going to be. Because if you say to yourself, I have to quit, I'm going to stop drinking alcohol, I have to stop drinking alcohol, it's really like a stress for your body because alcohol is a coping mechanism. It's a symptom, so it's not the root cause. So the thing is, like, I started like, okay, I'm going to see 1 week to another. And finally, I discover so much benefits. I have confidence that I never had before. And also, I think that I allowed myself to be truly who am I with alcohol, because alcohol gives you some confidence because it's about, the GABA, the dopamine. So you allowed yourself to be, you know. So now, without alcohol, you need to allow yourself to be who you truly are, and to take risks and to set goals, things like this. So that's how was my sobriety journey.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love having people on the show who literally like just mirror so much of like my philosophy and what it's really truly about, because your story is such a beautiful, example of questioning. And I think it's like rebellion in a way when we question. It's like we're given this like cultural way. It's like the cultural milieu. This is what everybody does. This is how you do it. You no excuses unless, the vodka's coming out in the morning. And then it's like that ability to listen to your intuition, even though it's, feels very scary and risky to put yourself in this kind of almost like it's looking at a very embarrassing topic as well and can feel very vulnerable as well. And then you're like, no, I'm going to define it for me. I'm going to find out my way. You know what I mean? And then what you find through that experiment, through that curiosity, is like a whole different version of you that you love, that you have been looking for your whole life really to step into. And you didn't fake your way to it. You grew into it, which I think is like the greatest personal development journey of your life. That's so amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that alcohol was something like for me related to an escape, because I wasn't happy in my professional life. And so going on party was the highlight of my week. And so I did that for many years, you know? And so when you decided to stop drinking alcohol, it's not just about alcohol, is you're going to face what the problem is. What do you want to do? And all these kind of things. So for me, it's not just about quitting a substance, a toxic substance. It's much more than that. And so, I have a group program, like I create a method, and I'm not talking all the time about alcohol because for me, alcohol, it's like, it's kind of a toxic relationship. And it's the same if you have a toxic relationship with a guy. If you're talking about it all the time, you will never forget it. So the thing is, put your focus on another thing. And for me, it's like, what is your goal? What is your dream? What do you want to achieve? And you take that, and sobriety will help you in this path.
Yeah, exactly. That's so much of like what we do over here too. I'm so curious, like going a little bit back because, it's hard enough to go alcohol free and have no people understand it. But you're also like talking about a culture that not only doesn't understand it, but is so steeped into it as well. And not steeped into it from like maybe the heavy drinking binge culture, but more of like, oh, we do it better. We're sophisticated with it. We're responsible with it. We moderate. So it's like that kind of feeling. So we'll dive into like the deeper nuances of that. But I'm curious, like just at first, how did you manage like just telling people, that you weren't drinking like the first few months? Like how did that go?
Honestly, I was super happy. No, no, really, because um, as you said, it's a rebellion. Okay, and I'm Aquarius. Okay. So I don't like to do what people are doing. So I was super happy to tell to people. And for me, as I told you, it was an experimentation. So this is new for me. So I was super excited. And I love to see the reaction of the people, because it's not about the people are judgmental. It's much more than people are talking about themselves, because it's mirroring. So when I say to people, oh no, I'm not drinking tonight, and they are, oh, okay, so, but you never drink alcohol, or just tonight? I'm like, I don't know. And so they started to speak and say, oh yeah, you're right. So it's good. Yeah, I have to reduce, but it's not a problem for me. And people are talking, talking, talking. So for me, it wasn't a problem. I was super curious about how people are going to behave. But of
Mhm.
course, there is some social pressure. Even if in my family, after 4 years of being sober, they give me something all around this champagne. No, I'm not drinking. So of course you're gonna have like social pressure all the time. But what is so important when you decided to question relationship with alcohol is to understand that we live in a matrix. The matrix in France is called the matrix.
Yeah.
The matrix, that alcohol is everywhere and socially accepted and all this kind of thing. And plus, in the culture, in the movies, in the series, like for instance, Sex and the City, you have Desperate Housewives, you have Emily in Paris. All alcohol is related to something funny, like independent woman, powerful woman. It's glamorous, all these kind of things. And so this has an impact on our behavior. It's totally unconscious. But from the moment you understand that, you're going to observe in your environments. Oh, this people is drinking. Okay. It's not about being judgmental. It's just, okay, I am in this matrix. All my life, people tell me, okay, go this way, because yes, you can enjoy a drink of wine, and you're going to enjoy alcohol and things like this. So this is something that you get used to have. And so from the moment you're asking yourself, do I still want to be part of the matrix, or do I want to create my own path? And this is for me was really like a super nice tool. And this is what
Yeah.
I share with the person, that be aware of the matrix and choose if you want to do that or not.
Yeah. I think what's so beautiful about what I'm hearing from you is like when you put that different lens on, like the first lens is like be a psychologist, like almost like take it off of like your story and what you're sharing, and it's just like just observe people. You know what I mean? Like you're just like observing people in the wild and like, okay, I'm gonna bring up alcohol. Let's see what happens here. You know what I mean? And what like, and it's so interesting. People are like, oh, I don't really drink that much, just like every weekend, like for the last 20 years, right? It's like so funny how like it comes out. But then the second one is like that rebelliousness, and I think that's something that I found easily too. And I want to be really clear, like before I did my first alcohol-free year in 2018, I had tried to not drink before, and it was harder because I think I didn't have that like mindset. And it wasn't really trying that hard, but it's just like, maybe take a weekend off here and there. And I always felt like, oh, I'm left out or whatever. But then I remember when I first went like truly alcohol-free in 2018, that's the same mindset I did. It was like, I'm going to be the rebel. I'm going to bring these alcohol-free drinks and I'm going to be like the trendsetter, and people are going to be like asking me like, what is that? I didn't even hear about that. And it's such a cool switch. And it's like, it might feel like you don't have confidence enough to like put those lenses on, but it's really just a matter of like that mindset of stepping into it, you know what I mean? And be the rebel and be the observer, like be the person who's watching human dynamics and how weird people are with alcohol. And it's not because you're the weird one, it's because like everybody has a complicated relationship with alcohol. Truly, I really do believe that. Unless you're like really rarely drinking, like alcohol is complicated, like just point blank. So I'm really curious now, like we're going into kind of the French culture, the French heritage. I grew up, you know, taking French classes. I studied abroad in France. Like I love the culture. I love yeah, I love just the you know, the whole vibe and stuff like that. And I think, you know, for so many places, like we have had that binary conversation. And I remember when I first was questioning alcohol, I didn't even want to because I didn't want to lump myself into that group of, you know, having to call myself an alcoholic. And obviously that conversation's changing, but you know, in the France, I think you really have this huge culture of, you know, moderation. Everyone's doing it socially, just a little bit, you know, and it's like, is it really just a little bit? Like, no, right? We're drinking
Moderation,
more.
you know, like what is moderation? I don't think we are in moderation.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think they are, right? But it's like this myth and that it's so cultural, it's such a heritage. And you know, there's so many changes in our modern era that are so different from living in the 1800s, you know what I mean? When like the alcohol was less strong and the water was dirty and like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
barely,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's not the same as it used to be like growing up on a vineyard or something like that. So like how do you unpack like changing or like making sense, I guess, of this huge cultural legacy that you've stepped into that is more positive on paper than like a heavy drinking culture like the UK or Wisconsin, where everyone's just like binge drinking. So it's like, how have you made sense of that? And how do you explain that to other French people who are questioning too, that like it's not what it looks like under the covers, actually? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think the main issues is that what the people tell themselves, meaning like what is the scenario they have in their mind? Because it's super important as well to analyze the relationship of alcohol in your family, the way you grew up with alcohol or not, and is always related, as I say, to pleasure, to something elitist as well, you know, these kind of things. So you grew up with the idea that you're gonna love alcohol and wine and champagne. It's part of our heritage. It's a savoir-faire à la française, all these kind of things. So at the first step, when you try to explain to the people, the first thing is that they are full of fear. Because for them, if they stop drinking alcohol, they're gonna be in frustration, you know? So it's all about that. And the thing is like they have so much apprehension. Because as I told you, you know, alcohol is a coping mechanism. And, you know, the people usually on Friday, on Thursday, let's have a drink. You know, in France, les terrasses, you know, the people drinking alcohol, it's part of our culture of identity. So they think they're gonna miss something. But the thing is like it's just all about what is in your glass, you know? It's about the substance. You could have a drink with someone and having a mocktail or whatever. But the thing is that it's all about apprehension. So usually the people doesn't want to try it because they think they're going to miss something and they're going to get bored and they will not going to have pleasure anymore and things like this. So I always tell to people, just try this with a new mindset. Oh, I'm going to learn something new, you know, in my life. I'm going to experiment a new experience with my friends and things like this. And you know, with my client, for instance, all the time they say, oh my gosh, I'm impressed. Like, I didn't drink this weekend. I think it was the first time since 10 years, and I'm perfectly good. And they are like, oh my gosh, it's much more easier than I was thinking, or what your brain is going to say told to yourself.
Yeah, I can see that too. It's like that change of like you can still have the rituals and still have the going out and the same feeling, the same vibe that you want. And it's just minus like all the negative consequences of, you know, the fogginess and the headaches and whatever alcohol brings. And like I know obviously if France has a huge wine culture. And I don't like I can't imagine to me like a red wine with so much tannins, it's like that is the worst hangover ever. That is the worst, worst, worst. And I'm not even talking about drinking like a bottle or two, even just a glass or two. It's like so heavy on your head and stuff like that. So it's like we're fooling ourselves to think other people don't feel like that. Like everybody feels the effects, you know? But I think also there's like this huge myth that like nobody really understands how great it does feel to live alcohol free, you know, who's hasn't really heard of it yet. You know what I mean? So it's like all the side effects of alcohol, especially when you're drinking on the weekend, maybe not every day, it's just been kind of like lumped into like, well, this is what normal life feels like. And some people even think like, well, this is just what it feels like to get older and stuff like that. And it's like, no, you know, I remember a month ago, I was getting into like my comment section, and like there was this guy who owned a winery. He was kind of arguing with me, and you know, just going back and forth, like some health studies he was trying to pick apart and say like, no, it wasn't really that bad, you know, for like what the study was saying about how alcohol isn't good for you at all. And I'm just like, you know what? At the end of this day, this man has absolutely no understanding of what it feels like to live alcohol free. Because if he did, every single thing he's putting up with and, you know, all the like feelings and effects of alcohol, it would be so clear day and night, you know? And I think that's why it's just such a great thing to have people experience it for the first time and go after that. Do you see, because like for example, I know there's like a few bottle shops, I believe, in alcohol-free bottle shops in Paris. Do you see any of the culture changing? I know the French Bloom company is like a big alcohol-free champagne company. So are you seeing little hints of changes and acceptance of like the alcohol-free movement in France?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say like until 2 years there is a new movement like in France. So it's super new comparing to UK or US. And yes, now you have a lot of pre alcohol shop and thing like this with super good wine without alcohol. Because at the beginning it was, you know, when you test it, it wasn't good at all. And so now you have super good brands about free alcohol. You have Amaretto. You have like uh, white wine is better than red wine usually. And yeah, there is definitely like a movement around that, and people are getting more and more curious about that. And so this is as well why I'm created content. And the funny thing is, like on LinkedIn, I have a lot of haters, like on a daily basis. And people say, "Oh my gosh, Lorraine, you're so courageous because you keep on." And I'm like, "Yes, I keep on doing like this because I all the time I have so much haters and people who are like, and plus I do not have a preachy pitch, you know. It's just I'm sharing thing or talking about the new mindset on everything. But you know, French people, wine, champagne, they don't want to listen to that. And well, it's not a problem, you know. But I know that a lot of people are super curious about that, and they want to learn more about it and how it is to have like a new life. And yeah, they are super curious, and I really see the change in in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think too, like when I, you know, I used to go to wineries, I still go to wineries, and I think it's like there is something beautiful about growing like a product in the ground and cultivating it and creating something beautiful out of it. But for so long, it's like we've made this art and this heritage only around like the ethanol that it creates. You know what I mean? And there's so much more artistry and innovation happening, I think, in the alcohol-free space because it's like, well, now we're growing these products and it's not just grapes, right? Like, because now all these alcohol-free, there's like botanicals and all this stuff. It's like we can still have that really depth of appreciation for flavor and nuance and different tastes and different bodies of, you know, things, and put it together in a beverage that is very artful and very innovative and really respects the land and has the terroir and everything like that, but it just doesn't have the ethanol in it. So it's like, to me, that's how I see the continuation of that veneration of that heritage and that culture, especially as we all get more health minded and more health conscious. It's just like, it's just the ethanol part that isn't like serving us. You know what I mean? We can still carry out the culture and the heritage in different ways just without that. And that's just, you know, that's adaptation, that's evolution as humans as well. And I think too, as you say, that, you know, like the people are so attached to it as well, is I think it's just such a it's I think we've had such a lack of the ability to, really be able to question alcohol because for so long the question was, well, do you have a problem? And, that was the only question you asked. And I think like what you're really trying to do is asking, like, is it making you happy? Is it allowing you to achieve your goals and dreams? And that's a completely different question, right? You know what I mean? And even the guy I was arguing with was like talking about how like, oh, well, if only 2 years of my life are shaved off, like I'll take that. It's not that big of a deal. And I was like, no, you don't get it. It's like your whole life is clouded by this thing. Like you don't understand how deep the effects really are until you take a break from alcohol. So it's like not only do we want to spin into this new world of like having appreciation for non-alcoholic drinks and different flavors and stuff like that that come from that, but I think it's also just these better questions that we can be asking ourselves that challenge like, the way that everyone else has always been doing everything.
Yeah, and it's funny because at the beginning, the first question I have is, "Oh, what are the alternative for alcohol?" And I'm like, "It's not the problem at all. It's like 10% of the job or 5% of the job." The real question is, does alcohol bring you closer or further away that from the life that you want to build? You know, and if the answer is about it's bring me not closer than the life that I want to build. Okay, so because it's all about procrastination as well, because we're talking about ethanol, which is a toxic substance. And the thing is like when you drink alcohol, of course you have benefit like dopamine give you motivation and the GABA, which is a neurotransmitter of calm. But the day after, you have a spike of cortisol. So it's a stress. Physiologically, your body is under stress. So what happens when you are under stress? It's the amygdala, the impulsion with there. So you're not going to take the best decision. So you are in stress mode. So you're going to have coffee and maybe cigarettes and fast food and things like this. And do. So, and this is, comment on dit, autopilot. This is autopilot mode. So the thing is like with all the sobriety journey, it's about, okay, put more conscious in your life. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? And things like this. And so the first thing when you stop drinking alcohol is about your neurotransmitter. And you see that, oh, you are calm, you have something that is new, a new energy. And you sleep better and you are in a good mood and you're happy and this kind of thing. So, oh, I want to do that. And I always say to people that when you drink alcohol, we are looking for emotions. It's all about that. So how you could bring new emotion in your life. I want to learn English. I want to play the piano. I want to do Pilates. I want to, and usually you're like, oh, I have no time for doing this. So when you are in this kind of new mindset, new area, okay, it's been 1 year that I say I'm going to learn the piano. Okay, I'm going to take a courses and I'm going to be dedicated to that. And so it brings you joy. It's confidence. And for me, the best benefit was for my stress. I really see the difference because I was like this up and down, which is part of my nature for sure. But there is an enormous difference. Like the way, I'm handling stress is totally, totally different. And I was someone who is not confident at all. And now I can tell you I'm confident because, being confident is not something that you wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm confident today. No, it's not like this. It's about action leads to confidence.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, oh, when I'll be ready, I'm going to do that. Okay, you can wait all your life. And I don't want to spend a life of waiting. So with the sobriety, I'm 100% sure that I will not build what I built today. 100%, because it's about, killing the procrastination, doing new things, challenging myself, going out of my comfort zone. And so now I'm like this. So I built a new identity.
And I think it's so cool too, is like, really closing the door on alcohol. And I think that for me too, it's like as I was making all these changes and seeing this new version of myself coming up, this new identity, it's like all of those subconscious associations I really had to rewrite in my brain. And I think the harder one for me at the last one was really about that culture of alcohol. And I think for me, I really needed to see like everything I believed about like moderation and people having a sophisticated glass of champagne. Like it's all an illusion. It's all an illusion. Everyone's feeling like crap. Everyone's like putting up with these things that they're just not talking about. People drink more than they want to all the time. You know what I mean? And just seeing that. But then I think this new identities, that's like where I just found such the sustainableness of this lifestyle. I'm like, I want more of her. I love this new version of myself. And it's like the realest version of yourself. You're really growing into who you're meant to be without crutches, without any outsourcing to anything else. And so I love the like new confidence. That's exactly what I felt. So many of my clients feel that too. And one last question for you. You actually took all of that energy. I call it like a gift, like the gifts that going alcohol free gives you. And it's like preparing you for something bigger. It's like a bigger mission. And you decided to launch a business, start sharing that out. You have a really amazing Instagram account. So, like, how did you make that decision to be like, I'm taking all of this and I need to share it with the world?
Well, I think it took 9 months as a baby. Um, because even if I've been sober for 2 years, I still have a lack of confidence. I was full of fears. And what I did is, without knowing it was that, I built my alter ego. So the version of myself, the future version of myself. And that's why I created Lolita, so which is my alter ego. And the thing is, like, I was observing, okay, what I love or what I admire to the people, and it was like audacity, it was elegance, it was authenticity, all these kind of things. And so I decided to build my alter ego with about like 10 qualities. I was thinking about her like, okay, what is the name of this alter ego? So the name is going to be Lolita because I love it, and I think like words have some energy. And then I was like, okay, so Lolita is living in a loft and she loves wearing like colorful dress, thing like this. She's not shy. She has a mission. She has a message to spread to the world. She's super confident. And so she loves learning artistic things during the weekend, like really, really, really make some details, about my alter ego. And then I decided to pick one of the quality, which the first one was audacity, and to set an action to reveal the quality in my life. So I pick audacity, and I said, okay, what is the action? And I was like, okay, Lolita, she's gonna launch the French Sober and create an Instagram account. And so how it started. And for me, the alter ego, it helps me to take emotional distance because when you're dealing with yourself and with all your fear and your doubt, usually you're not doing anything. But with the alter ego and with my client, this is what I build with them. And we do like a Pinterest board and thing like this. And I also have, like a visual trigger, like a picture or something that's reminding you your alter ego. And on a weekly basis, you can set up a new action related to the quality that you love. And so this is really help you to step out for your comfort zone and doing new thing. And the more you're doing new thing, the more you're going to have new emotion and be confident.
I love that so much. So, so much. Because it's like, yeah, we have these new dreams and these new visions, and that there's still like the fear and the doubt, and there's still so much of the, human emotions that can come to stop you, and it's like it's not like becoming the superhero version of you all the time. It's like allowing this, this part of you that lives inside of you. She's real. Lolita's very real. She's very much you. And she comes in and is able to fuel your energy for that moment, for that big risk, for that big, scary thing that you're going to do. And it can be really uplifting to think like that. I know, like I had my coaches when I was working on my business when I first started really do some of those practices with me too, of like really stepping into this like ulterior version of me. I called it like the future version of me, you know what I mean? And just like what she would do and stuff like that. And it's a really powerful concept. So I feel like we could talk forever. This is so insightful, enlightening. But just to keep it nice and succinct, where can people find more information about you?
So you can find me on my Instagram account called The French Sober. And I'm also created content on LinkedIn under my name, which is with Lorraine Valérie Rado.
Amazing. Well,
My
we'll be sure to
closest
add
best
those.
friend.
We'll be sure to add those in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me all the way from Europe today. This is such an enlightening conversation. And I hope for anyone who's still like upholding that illusion of like the French sophisticated culture of drinking, like I hope Lorraine's story can really show you like that's not what it's cracked up to be. And there's such a revolution happening in questioning in France too. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carolina. See you.